On December 19, 1944, senior Allied commanders assembled at Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force Forward Command Post in Verdun, France. 3 days earlier, German forces had initiated Operation Wacht am Rhein, subsequently designated by Allied forces as the Battle of the Bulge, launching approximately 200,000 troops and 600 armored vehicles through the Ardennes forest sector. This represented Germany's largest offensive operation on the Western Front since June 1940. The tactical situation on December 19th presented significant challenges to Allied command structure. German forces had penetrated American defensive lines to depths exceeding 50 miles in certain sectors. The U.S. First Army, under command of Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges, had sustained organizational disruption across multiple divisions. Communications infrastructure between forward units and corps-level headquarters had been severed in numerous locations. At the Verdun Conference, Supreme Commander General Dwight Eisenhower convened senior officers to coordinate Allied response to the German offensive. Present were Lieutenant General Omar Bradley, commanding 12th Army Group, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, commanding 21st Army Group, and Lieutenant General George Patton, commanding U.S. Third Army. Third Army operational sector at this date extended from the Moselle River near Thionville south to the Saar River, approximately 100 miles south of the Ardennes penetration zone. The strategic question facing Allied command was response timeframe. Standard military planning doctrine suggested large-scale redeployment of mechanized forces, required 10 to 14 days for divisions actively engaged in combat operations. This timeline reflected requirements for disengagement from enemy contact, route reconnaissance, supply line reconfiguration, and maintenance of unit cohesion during movement. General Eisenhower posed the operational question to assembled commanders. What time frame would be required for Third Army to disengage from current operations in the Saar-Moselle sector and redirect combat power northward against the southern flank of German penetration? Lieutenant General Patton's response, that 3 divisions could attack within 48 hours, contradicted established military logistics doctrine. This promise would require validation through execution. If you appreciate detailed World War II historical analysis based on primary source documentation, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment indicating your location. We have viewers across 6 continents, contributing to discussion of military history. George Smith Patton, Jr., born November 11, 1885, in San Gabriel, California, received commission as second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Cavalry Branch in 1909 following graduation from United States Military Academy. His military career prior to World War II included service in the 1916 punitive expedition into Mexico, where he participated in armed engagement at San Miguelito Ranch, one of the first tactical uses of motorized vehicles in U.S. military operations. During World War I, Patton established and commanded the American Expeditionary Force Tank Corps, receiving promotion to colonel. He sustained wounds during the Meuse-Argonne offensive in September 1918 while coordinating tank operations near Chepi. Post-war reduction in force returned him to permanent rank of major, though he retained expertise in mechanized warfare doctrine that would prove significant in subsequent decades. By December 1944, Patton commanded U.S. Third Army, activated in Normandy on August 1, 1944. Third Army organizational structure comprised the 12th Corps and the 20th Corps, with additional corps attached as operational requirements dictated. Total strength exceeded 250,000 personnel, organized into 6 infantry divisions, 3 armored divisions, and supporting artillery, engineer, and service units. Third Army operational record from August through December 1944 demonstrated capacity for rapid exploitation operations. Following breakout from Normandy Hedro country in late July, Third Army advanced eastward across France, liberating Chartres on August 16th, Orléans on August 17th, and Tra on August 25. By September 1st, Third Army forward elements had reached the Meuse River, covering approximately 400 miles in 26 days, an average advance rate of 15 miles per day across varied terrain while maintaining contact with enemy forces. However, autumn 1944 operations presented different tactical challenges. Third Army offensive toward Metz and the German frontier fortifications encountered prepared defensive positions, inclement weather, and extended supply lines. The advance slowed significantly. Metz, a fortified city with multiple fort complexes dating to German occupation after 1871, required systematic reduction. Third Army forces invested Metz beginning September 27th, with city capture not completed until November 22nd, a 57-day operation involving heavy urban combat. This operational context is relevant to understanding Patton's situation in mid-December. Third Army was actively engaged across a broad front with multiple corps conducting offensive operations. The logistical infrastructure supported eastward pressure toward the Saar industrial region. Reorienting this entire force 90 degrees northward, while maintaining combat effectiveness, represented a complex military problem. One additional factor affected Patton's position within Allied command structure. In August 1943, during the Sicily campaign, Patton had physically struck 2 hospitalized soldiers diagnosed with combat fatigue, subsequently termed combat stress reaction or post-traumatic stress disorder in modern military medicine. These incidents, occurring at 5th Evacuation Hospital on August 3rd and 93rd Evacuation Hospital on August 10th, became subject of press coverage in November 1943. General Eisenhower issued formal reprimand but did not relieve Patton from command, primarily because German intelligence intercepts indicated Wehrmacht commanders specifically tracked Patton's location and considered him the most dangerous Allied operational commander. This assessment made Patton valuable for deception operations. He was assigned to command 1st U.S. Army Group, a fictitious formation created as part of Operation Fortitude, the deception plan. Patton's supposed presence in southeastern England opposite Pas-de-Calais reinforced German misconception that primary invasion would target that sector rather than Normandy. These career factors meant Patton, despite proven tactical ability, operated under enhanced scrutiny. The opportunity presented by German Ardennes offensive offered potential for demonstrating capabilities beyond exploitation operations, specifically the capacity to execute complex maneuver under time constraints against determined opposition. German planning for the Ardennes offensive originated in September 1944 as Allied forces approached German frontier positions. Adolf Hitler personally conceived the operational concept, overriding objections from senior Wehrmacht commanders including Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, Commander-in-Chief West, and Field Marshal Walter Model, commanding Army Group B. The operational objective called for penetration of Allied lines in the Ardennes sector, rapid advance to the Meuse River, seizure of Meuse crossing sites, and continued advance to Antwerp. Capture of Antwerp would sever Allied supply lines. The port handled majority of materiel supporting 12th and 21st Army groups and potentially create conditions for negotiated settlement on Western Front, allowing Germany to concentrate remaining forces against Soviet advances on Eastern Front. Wehrmacht forces allocated to the offensive comprised 3 armies: 6th Panzer Army under SS Oberstgruppenführer Sepp Dietrich on the northern axis, 5th Panzer Army under General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel on the central axis, and 7th Army under General der Panzertruppe Erich Brandenburger on the southern flank. Total force strength approximated 200,000 personnel, with 600 armored vehicles including Panzer IV, Panther, and Tiger II tanks. German planning identified the Ardennes as a vulnerable sector in Allied lines. The region, heavily forested with limited road networks, was considered unsuitable for large-scale armored operations, the same assessment that had proven incorrect in May 1940 when German forces achieved breakthrough in this sector against French and British forces. In December 1944, Allied command had assigned 4 divisions to hold an 80-mile front in the Ardennes, a force density significantly lower than sectors to north and south. Operational security for the German offensive achieved high effectiveness. Wehrmacht units designated for attack were withdrawn from front lines in early December and concentrated in assembly areas east of the German frontier. Radio communications were minimized. Movement occurred at night. Deception measures included maintenance of normal radio traffic by units not participating in the offensive. The offensive commenced at 0530 hours on December 16, 1944, with artillery bombardment targeting American positions across the Ardennes front. German infantry and armor began advancing at 0600 hours. Initial penetrations achieved tactical surprise. American units, many consisting of formations recuperating from earlier operations or newly arrived divisions receiving frontline familiarization, were overrun or forced into retreat. By December 17th, German forces had created multiple penetrations in American lines. 6th Panzer Army advanced through Lausanne Gap, driving toward Malmedy and Stavelot. 5th Panzer Army, achieving deeper penetrations, bypassed Bastogne to north and south, creating an encirclement but not reducing the town. 7th Army protected the southern flank against anticipated American counterattack. However, operational execution immediately encountered problems that would prove significant. German logistics planning relied on captured American fuel stocks to sustain the advance. Kampfrupp Peiper, the spearhead of 6th Panzer Army, commanded by SS Obersturmbannführer Joachim Peiper, failed to capture fuel depot at Stavelot on December 17th due to evacuation by American forces hours before German arrival. Without captured fuel, German armored units would be limited to supplies transported from rear areas, supplies inadequate for sustained operations. Weather conditions also affected operations. Heavy cloud cover grounded Allied tactical air forces initially, providing German columns freedom of movement. However, the same weather created road conditions that slowed German advance, particularly for heavy Tiger II tanks weighing 68 tons. Roads in the Ardennes, designed for civilian traffic, began deteriorating under tracked vehicle traffic and poor weather. American resistance, though initially disrupted, began organizing. Individual units conducted delaying actions. The 99th Infantry Division held critical positions near Elsenburn Ridge, preventing 6th Panzer Army from exploiting northward. The 101st Airborne Division and elements of 10th Armored Division rushed to Bastogne, arrived December 18th to 19th, and established defensive perimeter around the town. By December 19th, the date of the Verdun Conference German offensive had created a salient approximately 50 miles deep and 70 miles wide at its base. However, the advance had not achieved breakthrough to the Meuse. Critical road junctions, particularly Bastogne, remained under American control. German fuel situation was becoming acute, and American command structure, recovering from initial surprise, was organizing counteroffensive operations. The question of whether Allied intelligence anticipated German offensive capability in the Ardennes remains subject to historical analysis. Available documentation indicates mixed assessment. 3rd Army Intelligence Section, designated G2, was commanded by Colonel Oskar Koch. Intelligence officers at various command levels had access to multiple information sources: aerial reconnaissance, signals intelligence from intercepted radio communications, prisoner interrogation reports, and analysis of German order of battle. Colonel Koch's intelligence summaries from early December 1944 noted several indicators. German radio traffic exhibited unusual patterns, with certain identified units disappearing from standard communications. Prisoner interrogation reports mentioned troop movements and rumors of offensive preparations. Aerial reconnaissance identified increased railway activity in areas behind German lines opposite the Ardennes. On December 9, 1944, Colonel Koch presented assessment to General Patton indicating possibility of German offensive action. The intelligence estimate suggested German forces might attempt spoiling attack or limited offensive operation to disrupt Allied preparations for renewed eastward offensives planned for January 1945. However, this assessment was not universally shared across Allied command structure. Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force Intelligence Section, under British Major General Kenneth Strong, acknowledged evidence of German buildup, but assessed capability as insufficient for major offensive. The prevailing intelligence estimate held that Germany lacked fuel, transportation, and reserves necessary for large-scale offensive operations after losses sustained during summer and autumn 1944. This intelligence discrepancy reflects common challenge in military analysis, distinguishing between enemy capability and enemy intention. German capability to mass forces for limited offensive was recognized. The scale and objective of actual German operation, drive to Antwerp with 3 armies, exceeded most intelligence estimates of German capability. Following Colonel Koch's December 9th briefing, General Patton directed staff officers to prepare contingency plans for potential Third Army operations northward into the Ardennes sector. This planning directive, documented in Third Army staff records, preceded German offensive by 1 week. 3 contingency plans were developed, each designated for different scenarios. Plan A, movement of 3 divisions, 4th Armored Division, 26th Infantry Division, 80th Infantry Division. Plan B, movement of 4 divisions, adding 5th Infantry Division. Plan C, movement of 6 divisions, entire 3rd Army combat power. Staff officers prepared movement tables indicating route assignments, estimated movement times, refueling points, and command structure for forces operating under each plan. These documents were maintained in 3rd Army Headquarters Planning Section, but not distributed to subordinate units or transmitted to higher headquarters. This planning activity represented initiative at Army level without coordination with Army Group or Supreme Headquarters. In conventional military hierarchy, such planning would typically require approval from higher command before execution. General Patton's decision to conduct contingency planning without formal authorization reflected his operational philosophy and assessment of situation. When German offensive commenced December 16th, and subsequent developments confirmed scale of operation, 3rd Army staff already possessed framework for rapid redeployment. This preparatory work would prove significant to execution speed. The meeting at Verdun on December 19, 1944, has been documented through multiple primary sources including official conference minutes maintained by Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force General, Patton's personal diary entries and post-war accounts from participants, including General Omar Bradley and British liaison officers. Conference participants included General Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Commander, Lieutenant General Omar Bradley, commanding 12th Army Group, Lieutenant General George Patton, commanding 3rd Army, Lieutenant General Jacob Devers, commanding 6th Army Group, Major General Harold Boole, SHAEF G3 Operations. Additional staff officers from represented headquarters. General Eisenhower opened conference by defining situation as opportunity rather than disaster, a characterization intended to establish offensive mindset among commanders. Current German penetration, while significant in tactical terms, had created exposed salient with vulnerable flanks. Allied material superiority remained intact. German offensive had consumed mobile reserves that could otherwise be employed defending against Allied advances elsewhere. Eisenhower's operational concept called for defensive containment of German penetration from north and south, followed by counteroffensive to eliminate the salient. Execution required coordination between multiple Allied armies and national contingents. a command challenge complicated by differing operational doctrines between American and British forces. Field Marshal Montgomery, commanding 21st Army Group, received temporary operational control of U.S. First Army and 9th Army north of the penetration, a command arrangement that created political sensitivity but was deemed necessary for unified direction of northern counteroffensive. 3rd Army would attack from south. The critical question, documented in conference minutes, concerned timing. How rapidly could major force reorientation be executed? General Patton's response, 3 divisions attacking within 48 hours, December 22nd, was recorded verbatim in multiple accounts. This represented commitment to move 4th Armored Division, 26th Infantry Division, and 80th Infantry Division approximately 100 miles north, disengage from current operations, establish new supply lines, conduct reconnaissance of unfamiliar terrain, and commence offensive operations, all within 2 days. Conference participants' reactions varied. Some staff officers, according to post-war accounts, expressed skepticism regarding feasibility. Standard military planning factors suggested such redeployment required 10 to 14 days. However, General Eisenhower accepted Patton's commitment and issued operational directive accordingly. The directive assigned 3rd Army mission to attack north toward Bastogne and the southern flank of German penetration. Initial objective was relief of 101st Airborne Division encircled at Bastogne. Subsequent operations would drive northeast, severing German supply lines and collapsing the southern portion of the salient. What conference participants other than Patton and his immediate staff did not know was that contingency plans for this exact operation had been prepared. Movement tables existed. Route reconnaissance had been conducted by 3rd Army staff officers in preceding days. Communications arrangements had been drafted. The 48-hour timeline, while aggressive, was based on actual planning rather than optimistic estimation. General Patton departed Verdun at approximately 1400 hours December 19th. By 1500 hours, 3rd Army headquarters at Nancy began transmitting movement orders to subordinate commands. Execution of 3rd Army's 90-degree pivot northward involved moving approximately 133,000 personnel and 30,000 vehicles over distances ranging from 75 to 150 miles, depending on unit locations. The operation required coordination across multiple organizational levels and integration of movement with ongoing combat operations. Movement orders were transmitted via radio and wire communications to the 3rd Corps, commanded by Major General John Milliken, and the 12th Corps, commanded by Major General Mantonetti. Initial forces comprised 4th Armored Division, Major General Hugh Gaffey, approximately 11,000 personnel, 186 medium tanks, 68 light tanks. 26th Infantry Division, Major General Willard Paul, approximately 14,000 personnel, 80th Infantry Division, Major General Horace McBride, approximately 14,000 personnel. These divisions were actively engaged in operations around Saarlouter and the Saar River Valley on December 19. Disengagement from enemy contact required coordination with adjacent units to prevent creation of gaps in lines. Relief-in-place operations were conducted, with other 3rd Army divisions extending their sectors to maintain continuous front. Movement execution followed pre-planned routes. Each division was assigned primary and alternate road networks. Military police units were positioned at critical intersections to direct traffic. Engineer units prepared bridge sites and conducted route maintenance. Signal Corps elements established communications relay points along movement corridors. The road network in eastern France and Luxembourg in December 1944 consisted primarily of 2-lane, paved roads with some improved gravel routes. Weather conditions included temperatures below freezing, snow accumulation, and ice formation. These conditions affected vehicle performance and road capacity. Standard military planning factors used by U.S. Army in 1944 calculated road capacity based on vehicle spacing, average speed, and road condition. A two-lane paved road under ideal conditions could accommodate approximately 2,000 vehicles per day in single-direction flow. Under winter conditions with ice and snow, capacity decreased to approximately 1,000 to 1,500 vehicles per day. Moving 3 divisions representing approximately 10,000 vehicles total required use of multiple parallel routes and continuous movement over 24-hour periods. Fuel consumption for the movement exceeded normal operational requirements. Medium tanks, M4 Sherman, consumed approximately 1 gallon of gasoline per mile of road movement. Each tank required 175 gallons to travel 100 miles, assuming no combat operations. With 186 medium tanks in 4th Armored Division alone, fuel requirement for armor movement totaled approximately 32,500 gallons, not including fuel for wheeled vehicles, artillery prime movers, and support vehicles. 3rd Army logistics infrastructure had established fuel supply points at multiple locations in eastern France. Additional supplies were moved forward from communication zone depots. Fuel trucks were positioned at intervals along movement routes to enable refueling without requiring vehicles to deviate from primary routes. Maintenance during movement presented significant challenges. Tracked vehicles experienced mechanical failures at predictable rates during extended road movement. Tank tracks were rapidly on paved surfaces. Final drives and transmissions are stressed by continuous operation. U.S. Army maintenance doctrine called for organizational, unit-level maintenance to be conducted during movement, with higher-level maintenance performed after arrival at destination. Recovery vehicles and maintenance teams were integrated into movement columns. When vehicles experienced mechanical failure, they were moved to roadside locations, repaired if possible, or recovered to maintenance collection points for evacuation. The goal was preventing disabled vehicles from blocking routes and causing cascade delays. By December 21 to 48 hours after departure from Verdun Conference, 3rd Army divisions had completed primary movement phase. The 4th Armored Division closed into assembly areas near Ardennes, Belgium. The 26th Infantry Division reached positions near Luxembourg City. The 80th Infantry Division assembled near Mersch. These locations positioned forces for offensive operations northward toward Bastogne. Historical analysis by U.S. Army after the war documented this redeployment as among the most rapid large-scale maneuvers executed by Allied forces in European theater. The operation demonstrated capabilities of U.S. logistics infrastructure, effectiveness of motor transport, and value of contingency planning. The town of Bastogne in southern Belgium held significance beyond its size population, approximately 4,000 in 1944. 7 roads converged at Bastogne, making it critical transportation node. Control of Bastogne enabled movement throughout southern Ardennes region. Denial of Bastogne to German forces disrupted offensive timetables and logistics. German 5th Panzer Army, commanded by General Hasse von Manteuffel, had bypassed Bastogne during initial offensive. German forces encircled the town by December 20th, but did not reduce the defensive perimeter. This tactical decision, bypassing rather than reducing strongpoints, accelerated German advance but left American forces in position to interdict German supply routes. American forces defending Bastogne included 101st Airborne Division, Acting Commander Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, approximately 11,000 personnel. Combat Command B, 10th Armored Division, approximately 2,500 personnel, including tank and armored infantry elements, additional artillery, engineer, and support units, approximately 3,500 personnel. Total defending force approximated 18,000 personnel with limited armor, approximately 40 medium tanks and tank destroyers, and artillery, approximately 130 tubes, including 105 mm, and 155mm howitzers. Supply situation within Bastogne perimeter deteriorated rapidly. Normal supply channels had been severed by German encirclement. Artillery ammunition stocks decreased due to expenditure during defensive operations. Medical supplies, particularly plasma and morphine, became critically low. Food stocks were adequate for several days, but would not sustain prolonged siege. German forces investing Bastogne comprised elements of 47 Panzer Corps and LXXV Corps, approximately 45,000 personnel with substantial armor and artillery. German attacks against perimeter occurred December 19th to 26th from multiple directions. American defensive lines contracted but maintained integrity. On December 22nd, German command transmitted surrender ultimatum to Bastogne garrison. The message, delivered under white flag by German officers, demanded American surrender and threatened destruction of the town. Brigadier General McAuliffe, as written response, consisted of single word, "a nuts," an American colloquialism indicating refusal. This response, when transmitted to German officers, required explanation of English idiom. Third Army's relief operation, designated Task Force Patton, commenced December 22nd with the 3rd Corps attacking northward. The 4th Armored Division formed primary attacking force, with Combat Command A, CCA, and Combat Command B, CCB, advancing on parallel axes toward Bastogne. Supporting attacks by 26th Infantry Division and 80th Infantry Division created broader offensive front, distributing German defensive efforts. Terrain between Ardennes and Bastogne consists of rolling agricultural land with extensive forests, particularly the Bois de Fregat and Bois de Hezat. In winter conditions, this terrain channeled armored movement to road networks. Villages became defensive strongpoints. Observation was limited by terrain and weather. German defensive operations attempted to delay 3rd Army advance. Elements of 5th Fallschirmjäger Division and 4th Grenadier Brigade conducted defensive operations. These were light infantry formations without significant armor, but equipped with anti-tank weapons, including Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck. Combat between December 22nd to 25th consisted of sequential engagements for control of villages and road junctions. American doctrine employed combined arms tactics, tank infantry teams supported by artillery, with air support when weather permitted. German defenses used terrain for ambush positions, engaging American armor at close range where Panzerfaust weapons were effective. Weather remained a significant factor. December 23rd brought partial clearing, allowing Allied tactical air forces to conduct operations. Fighter bombers from the 19th Tactical Air Command struck German positions, supply columns, and reinforcements. Air resupply to Bastogne became possible, with C-47 transport aircraft dropping supplies by parachute into defensive perimeter. The 4th Armored Division's advance covered approximately 25 miles between December 22nd to 26th, an average rate of 6 miles per day, significantly slower than exploitation operations across France in August-September. This reflected intensity of German resistance and terrain constraints. Breakthrough to Bastogne occurred December 26th. Lieutenant Charles Bogus, commanding a tank platoon from Company C, 37th Tank Battalion, 4th Armored Division, advanced along road from Eisenhower toward Bastogne perimeter. At approximately 16:45 hours, contact was established with elements of 326th Airborne Engineer Battalion, 101st Airborne Division. The corridor created was approximately 500 yards wide, sufficient for movement of vehicles and supplies. Initial supplies entered Bastogne within hours. Ammunition convoys, medical supplies, and fuel were prioritized. Casualties from the siege were evacuated southward. However, the corridor remained under German artillery fire for several days, requiring convoy movement to accept casualties and vehicle losses. Relief of Bastogne represented tactical success, but did not conclude battle. German forces continued offensive operations elsewhere in the salient. Third Army operations transitioned from relief mission to exploitation, driving northeast toward Houffalize to link with First Army forces attacking from north. German operational planning for the Ardennes offensive contained fundamental logistical vulnerabilities that became decisive factors. Analysis of captured German documents and post-war interrogations of German commanders revealed these planning deficiencies. Fuel constituted the primary constraint. German armored and motorized units required petroleum products in substantial quantities. A panzer division with 100 operational tanks required approximately 30,000 gallons of fuel per day during sustained combat operations. 5th and 6th Panzer Armies, with multiple Panzer and Panzer Grenadier divisions, required hundreds of thousands of gallons daily. German petroleum production in late 1944 had declined due to Allied strategic bombing of synthetic fuel plants and loss of Romanian oil fields to Soviet advances. Wehrmacht fuel stocks on December 16, 1944, were sufficient for approximately 3 to 5 days of offensive operations at planned consumption rates. German logistics planning therefore depended on capture of American fuel depots, specifically large supply points at Stavelot and Spa that held millions of gallons of gasoline. This planning assumption proved incorrect. American supply units, alerted to German advance, evacuated or destroyed fuel stocks before German forces arrived. At Stavelot, approximately 2.5 million gallons of gasoline were either removed or burned on December 17th to 18th. Kampfrupp Piper, despite reaching vicinity of the depot, captured negligible fuel quantities. Without captured fuel, German mobile units relied on supplies transported from rear areas. German transportation infrastructure consisted primarily of horse-drawn wagons and limited motor transport. Trucks allocated to Wehrmacht units in West were insufficient for sustained offensive operations over extended distances. Railroad networks behind German lines, subject to Allied air interdiction, could not reliably transport bulk fuel to forward areas. By December 21st to 22nd, German fuel shortage had become acute. Multiple German armored units reported immobility due to fuel exhaustion. Kampfrupp Piper, having penetrated furthest west to Stumont, was ordered to withdraw but lacked fuel to move vehicles. On December 23rd, Piper ordered abandonment of heavy equipment, including approximately 40 tanks and assault guns. Personnel evacuated on foot, moving east through forest terrain. Similar fuel crises affected other German units. The 116th Panzer Division, operating in Central Sector, reported vehicles abandoned due to fuel shortage. The 2nd Panzer Division, having reached Sels, the westernmost point of German advance, approximately 4 miles from Meuse River, was immobilized by fuel exhaustion and subsequently destroyed by American counterattack. Weather affected German operations differently than American operations due to material factors. German armored vehicles used different petroleum products than American vehicles. German synthetic fuels had higher wax content, causing cold weather performance problems. Engines required longer warm-up periods. Oil thickened in extreme cold, increasing engine wear. German Tiger II tank, while possessing superior armor and armament compared to American M4 Sherman, was mechanically complex and prone to failure. The tank weighed 68 tons, substantially heavier than infrastructure design specifications for many Ardennes roads and bridges. Maybach HL 230 engine was underpowered for vehicle weight, leading to transmission failures. In winter conditions with limited maintenance support, Tiger II operational readiness rates declined rapidly. Weather clearing on December 23rd introduced new constraint: Allied air superiority. 9th Air Force fighter bombers and RAF 2nd Tactical Air Force conducted hundreds of sorties daily against German targets. Ground attack aircraft strafed and bombed German vehicle columns, supply trucks, and troop concentrations. German Luftwaffe, with limited fuel stocks and numerical inferiority, could not contest Allied air operations effectively. German casualties increased substantially. Precise casualty figures remain subject to historical debate due to incomplete German records, but post-war analysis estimated German losses in Ardennes offensive exceeded 80,000 killed, wounded, and captured. Materiel losses included approximately 600 tanks and assault guns destroyed or abandoned, plus hundreds of artillery pieces and thousands of vehicles. These losses were irreplaceable. German industrial production in late 1944 could not compensate for materiel losses at the rate sustained in Ardennes. More significantly, trained personnel, tank crews, infantry, artillerymen could not be rapidly replaced. German training infrastructure was degraded by Allied strategic bombing and lack of fuel for training exercises. Strategic impact of these losses became apparent in January 1945. Soviet Winter Offensive, launched January 12 on Eastern Front, encountered weakened German defenses. Wehrmacht units withdrawn from East for Ardennes offensive were unavailable for defensive operations. German reserves that might have stabilized Eastern Front had been consumed in Ardennes. Following relief of Bastogne on December 26, 1944, Allied operations transitioned from defensive containment to offensive elimination of German salient. This required coordination between 1st Army attacking from north and 3rd Army attacking from south, with objective of meeting at Huffelise to bisect German-held territory. 1st Army counteroffensive commenced January 3, 1945. The 7th Corps, commanded by Major General J. Lawton Collins, attacked southward from vicinity of Malmedy and Stavelot. The 2nd Armored Division and 3rd Armored Division provided armored striking power, supported by 83rd Infantry Division and 84th Infantry Division. Progress was measured against heavy German resistance as Wehrmacht forces attempted to maintain salient. 3rd Army simultaneously attacked northward. The 8th Corps and the 12th Corps, now reinforced to 6 divisions, drove toward Huffelise through terrain that remained heavily forested and snow-covered. Daily advance rates averaged 1 to 3 miles slower than summer exploitation operations, but consistent given terrain and opposition. German command faced strategic decision: withdraw forces from salient to preserve units, or maintain positions and risk encirclement. Hitler initially ordered defense in place. Field Marshal Model, commanding Army Group B, advocated withdrawal to prevent loss of remaining mobile forces. Compromise decision authorized gradual withdrawal beginning January 8. German withdrawal operations were conducted under pressure from Allied attacks and Allied air interdiction. Rear guard actions delayed Allied advance while main force elements displaced eastward. However, organization deteriorated as units lost cohesion. Supply shortages and equipment losses reduced combat effectiveness. Allied forces met at Huffelise on January 16, 1945. This junction point represented elimination of German salient and restoration of continuous Allied front line. German forces had withdrawn to positions approximating December 16 starting lines. The offensive had gained no permanent territorial advantage. Casualty figures from Battle of the Bulge, compiled from official records, showed American, approximately 19,000 killed, 47,500 wounded, 23,000 captured or missing. British, approximately 200 killed, 1,400 wounded. German, approximately 12,000 to 16,000 killed, estimates vary. 38,000 to 45,000 wounded. 23,000 captured. Material losses included American, approximately 730 tanks and tank destroyers destroyed. German, approximately 600 tanks and assault guns destroyed or abandoned. Strategic assessment of battle emphasized several factors. German offensive achieved tactical surprise, but failed to achieve operational objectives. Penetration reached maximum depth of approximately 50 miles, but did not breach Meuse River line or threaten Antwerp. American forces, despite initial disruption, reorganized and conducted effective defensive operations. Allied logistics infrastructure proved capable of supporting rapid redeployment and sustained operations in winter conditions. German losses in Ardennes had long-term strategic consequences. Mobile reserves committed to offensive were destroyed or severely depleted. These forces were unavailable for defensive operations against the Soviet winter offensive on Eastern Front, which commenced January 12 and achieved breakthrough, leading to Soviet advance into Germany. Wehrmacht on Western Front, having expended reserves in failed offensive, lacked capability to prevent Allied advance toward Rhine River in February-March 1945. Third Army's performance during Ardennes campaign has been subject to extensive military analysis, particularly regarding the 90-degree pivot executed December 19 to 22, 1944. Post-war studies by U.S. Army Command and General Staff College and Army War College examined this operation as case study in maneuver warfare. Several factors enabled rapid redeployment. Contingency planning conducted prior to German offensive provided framework for execution. Staff officers had prepared movement tables, route assignments, and logistics support plans. This preparatory work reduced decision-making time required and enabled immediate transmission of orders. Third Army logistics infrastructure was well developed following months of operations in France. Supply points were established. Transportation assets were organized. Communications networks functioned effectively. This infrastructure could be redirected to support new mission without requiring construction of new systems. American material superiority provided cushion for operation. Vehicle breakdown rates during movement exceeded peacetime standards, but did not prevent mission accomplishment because replacement vehicles were available. Fuel consumption exceeded normal operational allocations, but supply stocks were sufficient. Decentralized command philosophy employed by Third Army enabled subordinate commanders to exercise initiative. Division and corps commanders received mission-type orders specifying objectives, but allowing tactical flexibility in execution. This reduced need for constant communication with higher headquarters and accelerated decision-making. However, analysis also identified limitations. Initial attack toward Bastogne on December 22 did not achieve breakthrough on first day. Advance rate of 6 miles per day between December 22 to 26 was substantially slower than rates achieved during exploitation operations in August-September. This reflected difference between exploitation against retreating enemy and offensive against prepared defense. Casualties during relief operation were significant. The 4th Armored Division sustained approximately 1,400 casualties. Comparison with German assessment provides additional perspective. Post-war interrogations of German commanders revealed genuine surprise at Third Army's response speed. General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel, commanding 5th Panzer Army, stated in interrogation that German intelligence estimated Third Army would require 10 to 14 days to redeploy. The actual 48-hour response timeframe disrupted German operational planning and forced reallocation of forces to southern flank earlier than anticipated. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, in post-war interrogation, acknowledged that Allied response, particularly Third Army's rapid maneuver, was factor in offensive's failure. However, he emphasized fuel shortage as primary cause, suggesting that even with Third Army's intervention, German offensive would have failed due to logistical constraints. This raises analytical question regarding relative importance of factors. Did Third Army's counteroffensive cause German defeat, or did German logistical failure cause defeat while Third Army accelerated the outcome? Evidence suggests both factors were significant. German logistics were inadequate for sustained offensive, but Third Army's rapid response prevented German forces from consolidating gains and forced resource allocation to defensive operations. The 48-hour redeployment became frequently cited example in subsequent U.S. Army doctrine development. Field Manual 100-5, Operations, published in multiple editions during Cold War, referenced Ardennes campaign as demonstration of maneuver warfare principles. Military education institutions incorporated case study into curriculum for officer professional development. Lieutenant General George Patton's leadership during operation received formal recognition. He was awarded Oak Leaf Cluster to Distinguished Service Cross for actions during Ardennes campaign. Post-war assessment by military historians and biographers has generally evaluated his performance during this operation favorably, contrasting it with mixed assessments of his performance during Metz operations in autumn 1944.